Alabama, 1887. In the mud, an elderly enslaved woman knelt as a wealthy plantation owner kicked dirt into her face. She did not flinch. She did not cry out. Her silence made him angrier. Again, he raised his boot. Then came the howl. Deep, guttural, close. The kind of sound that makes grown men freeze. In the darkness beyond the torchlight, something massive moved. From the tree line, eyes like molten gold watched. 2 words the old woman whispered made the plantation owner's blood run cold. My son. But her son had been dead for 15 years. Everyone knew that. What they didn't know was where his spirit had gone, what it had become, or why it had returned tonight. Her name was Alma. She was 63 years old. Decades of cotton picking had crooked her back. Her hands were twisted like tree roots. Without pain shooting through her knees, she could barely walk. 12 miles outside Montgomery sat the Thornhill plantation. 200 acres of cotton fields. A main house with white columns. Slave quarters that leaked when it rained. 17 enslaved people still worked the land, even though the war had ended 22 years ago. They stayed because they had nowhere else to go. Because James Thornhill owned everything for miles. Because leaving meant starving. Because men who tried to leave were found hanging from trees. From his father, James Thornhill had inherited the plantation. He was 35 years old, clean-shaven, always wore a black suit. He believed slavery was the natural order of things. He believed God had made some people to serve and others to rule. When the Emancipation Proclamation came, his father had laughed. When Reconstruction ended, his father had celebrated. Now James ran things the same way his grandfather had, with violence, with fear, with total control. On this land, Alma had been born. Since she was 5 years old, she had picked cotton. She had watched her mother die in childbirth. She had buried 3 children before they turned 10. Only one had survived to adulthood. Thomas was his name. He had been tall, strong, quick with numbers. He could read, though that was forbidden. In secret, using a Bible she had stolen from the main house, Alma had taught him. 15 years ago, Thomas had disappeared. He was 19 years old when it happened. One day he was working in the fields. The next day he was gone. Thomas had run away, James Thornhill's father said. But Alma knew better. On the barn floor, she had found blood. In the other workers' eyes, she had seen the fear. About what really happened, nobody talked. Talking meant dying. After Thomas vanished, something else had appeared. A wolf, massive, black fur, golden eyes. Near the plantation at night, it was seen. It never attacked the enslaved people. But over the years, 3 overseers had died, mauled, torn apart, found in pieces. James Thornhill doubled the night patrols. He set traps. He hired hunters. The wolf was never caught. It was never even seen clearly, just shadows, just howls, just the aftermath. In that wolf, Alma believed her son's spirit lived. From grief, the others thought she was crazy. But she felt it. Every time the wolf appeared, she felt Thomas near her, watching, waiting, protecting. Tonight would prove her right. The day started like any other. Before dawn in the slave quarters, Alma woke. A wooden shack she shared with 3 other women. The roof had holes. Rain came through. The floor was dirt. There were no beds, just piles of straw and torn blankets. In the cold air, she could see her breath. When she stood up, her body screamed. Every joint hurt, every muscle ached. For this work, she was too old, but stopping meant punishment or worse. Outside, she walked to the well. The sun was just starting to rise. Across the cotton fields, orange light spread. Except for roosters crowing, the plantation was quiet. From the well, she drew water. Her hand shook. The bucket was heavy. Carrying it back, she spilled half of it. Already awake was James Thornhill. In the main house windows, she could see lamplight. Every day he woke early to inspect the plantation, to make sure his property was in order. That included the enslaved people. To the main house kitchen, Alma went. She was supposed to help cook breakfast. Hers was the job to peel potatoes and wash dishes. For someone her age, simple tasks. But now, even simple tasks hurt. The cook was a woman named Ruth, 40 years old. Her whole life, Ruth had been on the plantation, too. Around the kitchen, she moved quickly, cutting, stirring, checking the fire. "You look tired," Ruth said. "I am always tired," Alma replied. "Master Thornhill was asking about you yesterday, saying you move too slow, saying you are useless." "Nothing," Alma said. A potato she picked up and started peeling. Her hands cramped. The knife slipped. Her thumb she cut. Onto the potato, blood dripped. "Careful," Ruth said. "Do not bleed on his food." In a rag, Alma wrapped her thumb. She continued peeling. Worse got the pain in her hands. Twice, she dropped the knife. Into the kitchen came James Thornhill. In his black suit, he was dressed. His boots were polished. With oil, his hair was slicked back. With disgust, he looked at Alma. "Why is she still working in here?" he asked Ruth. "She helps me, Master Thornhill. She does what she can. She does nothing. Look at her. A knife she can barely hold." Alma kept her eyes down. Not to look plantation owners in the eye, she had learned long ago. As disrespect, it was seen. Disrespect meant beatings. "I can work, Master," Alma said quietly. "You are a waste of space, a waste of food. Years ago, you should have died." Like fists, the words hit Alma, but she showed no emotion. Showing emotion gave men like James Thornhill satisfaction. "Get out of my kitchen," he said. "Go feed the pigs. At least for that you are good." Alma set down the potato. On her dress, she wiped her hands. Out of the kitchen she walked. Her weight, her legs barely held. Slowly across the yard toward the pig pens, she moved. Higher now was the sun. Their work, other enslaved people were starting. To the fields with tools, men headed. To the wash house, women carried laundry. Water, children fetched. With their heads down, everyone moved. Unless spoken to, nobody spoke. Behind the barn was the pig pen. In filth, 6 pigs lived there. Overwhelming was the smell. A bucket of slop, Alma picked up. Kitchen scraps mixed with water. Into the feeding trough, she poured it. Over, the pigs rushed, squealing and pushing each other. There, Alma stood watching them. Better than she did, these animals lived. They were fed. For a purpose, they were kept. When they died, it was quick. A knife to the throat, then meat for the table. About Thomas, she thought. About the last time she saw him. Water to the fields, he had been carrying. At her, he had smiled. The last good thing she remembered was that smile. Her thoughts, a voice broke. "Still alive, old woman." She turned. It was Silas, one of the overseers, a white man in his 40s. Scars on his face, a whip on his belt. Hurting people, he enjoyed. Everyone knew it. "Yes, sir," Alma said. "Surprised you made it through the winter. In that shack, I thought you would freeze to death. I am still here. For now." Closer, he stepped. "You know what I think? I think Master Thornhill should sell you, get some money for you before you drop dead. Maybe a work farm would take you, work you until you are bones." "Nothing," Alma said. "Or maybe we should just put you down like an old dog. A mercy, really." He laughed. Away, he walked. In the mud, his boots made sucking sounds. There, Alma stood shaking, not from fear, from rage. For 63 years, a rage she had carried. Every single day, a rage she had to swallow just to survive. Toward the slave quarters, she walked back. Her morning work was done. Until afternoon, now she would rest, when more tasks there would be. Mending clothes, washing floors, whatever Master Thornhill decided. But as she passed the barn, she heard voices, angry voices. She stopped. "You are telling me we lost 3 chickens last night?" It was James Thornhill. "Yes, sir," another overseer, a younger man named Porter. "Something got into the coop, killed them, but did not eat them." "What killed them?" "Do not know, sir." "Could be a fox. Could be that wolf." Silence. "The wolf," James Thornhill said slowly. "That damn wolf. Around the property, we set traps, but it never steps in them. It is like it knows. About traps, animals do not know. Wrong, you are setting them. Last time, we followed the tracks. To the woods, they led. Then they just vanished." For a moment, James Thornhill was quiet. "Tonight, double the patrols. With rifles, I want men. If that wolf comes back, dead, I want it. You hear me?" "Yes, sir." "And the slave quarters, check. Make sure none of them are feeding it. Make sure none of them are protecting it." "You think they would?" "Animals, too, I think they are. And together, animals stick." From the barn, Alma moved away before they saw her. Pounding was her heart. Here last night, the wolf had been. Close. Closer than it had been in months. Again, she thought about Thomas, about the blood in the barn, about the stories the old people used to tell. About spirits, about transformation, about justice that came from the earth itself when human justice failed. Maybe she was crazy. Maybe her mind, grief had broken. But she believed. She believed because belief was all she had left. On, the day dragged. A torn dress, Alma mended. The main house floors, she scrubbed. With every movement, her knees screamed. By evening, she could barely stand. As always, dinner was the same. Cornmeal mush. The size of her thumb, a piece of salt pork. Water. In the slave quarters with the others, she ate. Much, nobody talked. Too tired, everyone was. Next to her, Ruth. "Saturday, you should be careful," Ruth whispered. "Why?" "In a mood is Master Thornhill." To his wife, "I heard him talking. The old and useless, he said he wants to clear out. For new workers, make room. New workers, he cannot buy. Over is slavery. Them, he does not buy. He tricks them. Promises them wages, then never pays. And if they try to leave, for theft he has them arrested. From him, they stole, he says. His cousin is the sheriff. It always works." Her food, Alma finished. "It does not matter. Here anyway, I will die, just like everyone else." "Do not say that." "True, it is." "Nothing else," Ruth said. True, too, she knew it was. Fell, night. On her straw pile, Alma lay down. Already asleep were the other women. Their breathing, she could hear. In the walls, rats moving, she could hear. Her eyes she closed, but sleep did not come. About Thomas, she thought, about the wolf, about James Thornhill's words earlier. Years ago, you should have died. Right, maybe he was. Should have, maybe she. Of this life, what was the point? With no end, what was the point of suffering? Then she heard it, a howl, long, low, mournful. The wolf. Up, she Saturday. Stirred the other women but did not wake. Alma stood. Her body protested, but she ignored it. To the door, she walked. Slowly, she opened it. Cold was the night. The sky, stars filled. Almost full was the moon. The fields, the barn, the main house in the distance, she could see. Another howl. Closer this time. Outside, Alma stepped. Toward the sound, she walked. Bare were her feet. Cold and muddy was the ground. She did not care. The pig pen, she passed. Agitated were the pigs. In circles, they squealed and ran. Something had spooked them. The edge of the cotton fields, she reached. Now, the stalks were dead, harvested months ago. Just empty dirt and dried plants, the field was. In the darkness, movement. Something massive, low to the ground. Into the moonlight, the wolf stepped. Bigger than any wolf should be, it was taller than her waist. Black as ink was its fur. Golden, its eyes glowed. In the cold air, steam rose from its mouth. Still, Alma stood. Afraid, she was not. Of this wolf, she had never been afraid. Thomas, she whispered. At her, the wolf stared. Intelligent, aware, its eyes were. Of an animal, they were not the eyes. Down Alma's face, tears ran. Really you, is it? Closer, the wolf took a step. Then another. 10 feet away now, it was. It, she could smell. Wild, earthy, like the forest. You, they killed, she said. You, they killed, and about it they lied, and anything I could not do. Save you, I could not. Its head, the wolf lowered. From its throat, a sound came. Not a growl. Something softer, almost like a whimper. Forward, Alma took a step. Out, her hand reached, shaking, trembling. The wolf did not move. Its fur, her fingers touched. Warm, real, solid, it was. My son, she cried. My boy. In the night, a gunshot exploded. Near the wolf, the bullet hit the ground. Up, dirt sprayed. Turned and bolted, the wolf. Into the darkness in seconds, it vanished. Around, Alma spun. With a rifle, James Thornhill was running toward her. With a torch, Porter was behind him. Did I hit? Thornhill yelled. No, sir, Porter said. Gone, it is. Alma, Thornhill reached. By the arm, he grabbed her. Like iron, his grip was. Out here, what the hell are you doing? Nothing, master. A noise, I heard. To that animal, you were talking. You, I saw. To it, you were talking. No, master. You were. Her, he shook. Rattled, her teeth. It, you are feeding. It, you are protecting. I am not. Liar. To the ground, he threw her. Hard, she hit. A cracking sound, her shoulder made. Through her body, pain shot. Please, she gasped. My livestock, that wolf has killed. My men, it has killed, and it, you are helping. I am not. I swear. In the ribs, he kicked her. She coughed. Up, blood came. Master Thornhill, Porter said. Maybe we should shut up. At Alma's head, Thornhill pointed the rifle. Maybe now, I should just end this. Like the useless animal you are, put you down. Up at him, Alma looked. In his eyes, she saw no humanity. Just hate. Just cruelty. It do, she said quietly. That surprised him. What? It do. Shoot me. Ready, I am. At her, he stared. Then the rifle, he lowered. No, too easy that would be. First, you are going to suffer. To Porter, he turned. In the cellar, lock her. No food, no water. 3 days. Loyal to that wolf if she is still, let us see when starving she is. Porter hesitated. Sir, old she is. Survive, she might not. Then die she. Care, I do not. Across the plantation, they dragged Alma. In agony, her body screamed. The cellar door, they opened. A hole in the ground beneath the barn. It was completely dark, completely empty. Like mold and death, it smelled. Down the stairs, they threw her. She tumbled, hit the floor, lay there gasping. Above her, the door slammed shut. Clicked, a lock. Darkness. Complete. Total. Absolute darkness. There, Alma lay for a long time. Out, she might have passed. Sure, she was not. Again, her eyes she opened, open or closed she could not tell if they were. That dark, it was. Her ribs hurt. Her shoulder hurt. Everything hurt. Here, she thought she might die, and okay, maybe that would be. But then again she heard it. Faint, distant, but there a howl. Still out there, the wolf was. Still out there, Thomas was. And as long as out there he was, on she would hold. She had to, because in that darkness, something important she realized. Just to protect her, Thomas had not come back. For revenge, he had come back. And just beginning, that revenge was. A tomb was the cellar. In front of her face, Alma could not see her own hands. Like a physical weight, the darkness pressed against her. Stand, she tried, but her body would not obey. Badly injured was her shoulder. Through her ribs, every breath sent sharp pains. On the cold, dirt floor, she lay. Time became meaningless. Passing, she did not know if minutes or hours were. No light, no sound except her own breathing and the occasional scurrying of rats. First came thirst. Dry became her throat, then scratchy, then painful. Swallow, she tried, but in her mouth, there was no moisture. Thick and swollen, her tongue felt. Next came hunger. Cramped, her stomach. Empty it had been when down here they threw her. Now it twisted and growled. Ignore it, she tried, but worse grew the pain. Constant was the cold. Into her bones, it seeped. Uncontrollably, she shivered. No warmth, her thin dress provided. Into a ball, she curled, trying to preserve body heat. Much, it did not help. Passed, hours, or maybe days. Tell, she could not. In and out of consciousness, she drifted. Tricks on her, her mind played. As a child, she saw Thomas. His voice, she heard. In hers, his hand she felt. Then she would wake and remember dead he was, gone, murdered on this plantation 15 years ago. But the wolf was real. It, she had touched. Its warmth, she had felt. A dream, that was not. About what James Thornhill had said, she thought. First, you are going to suffer. Her entire life, she had suffered. What were 3 more days? To 63 years of slavery, what was dying slowly in a dark hole compared? Mercy, maybe this was. Finally free her, maybe death would. But then about Thomas she thought, about the wolf, about the way with those golden eyes it had looked at her. On, he had not moved. Peace, he had not found. Still here, he was, still tied to this place, still protecting her. If she died, to him what would happen? Finally free, would he be? Or here forever, would he be trapped? Survive, she had to. Not for herself, for him. Across the floor, Alma dragged herself. The darkness, her hand searched. A wall she found, stone, damp. Along it, she felt, looking for anything, a crack where water might seep through, a hole where air came in. Nothing. Searching, she kept. Something soft, her fingers touched. Back, she pulled. A rat. Squeaked and ran away, it. Along the wall, she continued. Then something different, her hand touched. Wood. A shelf maybe. Upward, she felt. On it, there were objects. One, she grabbed. A jar, empty. Another jar, also empty. Then something else she found. A small tin cup. She shook. Inside, liquid sloshed. Water. Old water. Probably stagnant. Probably full of things that could make her sick. Care, she did not. To her lips, she brought it. Drank, she. Like rust and dirt, it tasted. All, she drank it. Much, it was not. Maybe 4 ounces, but something it was. Down, she set the cup. A little stronger, she felt. Not much, but a little. On the floor, she lay back down. Her eyes, she closed. In fragments, sleep came. Of the plantation burning, she dreamed. Of James Thornhill screaming, she dreamed. Over his body, of the wolf standing, she dreamed. A sound woke her. Above, footsteps. Through the floor, voices muffled. Down there 2 days now, she has been. It was Ruth's voice. Master's orders, that was Porter. Die, she is going to. Maybe the point, that is. Murder, it is. Your mouth, watch. Down there with her, you want to end up. Silence. Then away, the footsteps moved. 2 days. Down here, she had been 2 days. 1 more to go. If his word James Thornhill kept, if here to rot he did not just leave her. In her body, the pain had evolved. Sharp, it was no longer. Dull, constant, numbing, it was. Down, she was shutting. Up, her body was giving. But on, her mind held. About Thomas, she thought. Every memory she had of him, she replayed, his first steps, his first words, the way he laughed, the way by candlelight he used to sneak books into the slave quarters and read. Smart, he had been, too smart. For an enslaved person, dangerous that was. Questions, smart slaves asked. The contradictions, they saw. Freedom, they wanted. Noticed, James Thornhill's father had. Uppity, he had called Thomas. Broken Thomas needed to be, his place he needed to learn, he had said. To be careful, to keep his head down, to pretend simple he was, Alma had begged Thomas, but refused Thomas had. Rather die free than live as a slave, he said he would. His wish, he got. He died, but freedom he never got. Or maybe he did. Maybe his freedom was the wolf. Without chains, a form, a power that could not be controlled. Another sound, different this time. Not footsteps, a scratching like claws on wood. Up, Alma Saturday. Through her body, pain screamed, but she ignored it. Continued, the scratching. From above, from the cellar door, it was coming. Then a howl. Close. Right above her. The wolf. Thomas, she whispered. More frantic, the scratching became. The wolf was trying to get her, trying to reach. But thick was the door. Solid was the lock. Even a creature as powerful as the wolf could not break through. Then voices shouting. Here, it is. Here, the wolf is. Your rifles, get. Where did it go? At the barn, it was just. Gunshots. 3. 4. 5. Across the plantation, the sounds echoed. Then silence. Alma waited. Pounded, her heart. Killed it, had they? Killed Thomas, had they? Passed, minutes. Long, agonizing minutes. Then something else she heard. A scream. Human, male, cut short. More shouting. More gunshots. Above, chaos. The ground, something heavy hit. Then another scream. Wet. Gurgling. Not dead, the wolf was. Attacking, the wolf was. To the floor, Alma pressed her ear. Running, yelling, panic, she could hear. Then James Thornhill's voice. Loud, clear. Now, inside the house get. Inside, everyone. Doors slamming, more gunshots, then quiet. Alma waited. Happening, she did not know what was. Only she knew up there the wolf was and it was killing. Past, hours, or maybe just 1 hour. To track, time was impossible. Finally, the cellar door opened. In, light poured. Her eyes, Alma covered. Hurt, it did. In darkness so long she had been that even lamplight was blinding. Up, get. At the top of the stairs stood James Thornhill. Pale was his face. Shook, his hands. Stand, Alma tried. Work, her legs would not. Collapsed, she. I said, up, get. Cannot, master. Down the stairs, he came. By the hair, he grabbed her. Up the steps, he dragged her. Screamed, she. Against the wood, her body scraped. Outside, he pulled her. Again, night had fallen. The plantation, torches lit. Near the slave quarters, huddled enslaved people, she could see. With rifles standing guard, overseers, she could see. And bodies, she could see. 2 of them, torn apart. Everywhere, blood. This, your wolf did, Thornhill said. To the ground, he threw her. Because of that animal, 2 of my men dead. At the bodies, Alma looked. One was Silas, the overseer who had mocked her. Out, his throat was ripped. At nothing, his eyes stared. The other was a man she did not recognize. Probably a hired gun. Open, his stomach was torn. Outside, his insides were. This I did not do, Alma said weakly. Here, you called it. Somehow, you are connected to it. A pistol, he pulled out. At her head, he aimed it. Now, right now I should kill you. Then it, do, she said. A whisper barely, her voice was. To die, ready I am. On the trigger, his finger tightened. Then he stopped. No, a better idea I have. To Porter, he turned. To the whipping post, tie her. As bait, we are going to use her. Sir, her, that wolf wants. For her, it came here. So, what it wants we are going to give it, and when it comes, ready we will be. Porter hesitated. Master Thornhill, stand she can barely. This seems, it, do or next to her tied up you will be. Forward, Porter moved. Alma, he lifted. Almost nothing now, she weighed. Without food or water, 3 days had withered her. To the center of the plantation yard, he carried her. There stood the whipping post, a thick wooden pole deep into the ground driven. Covered it, dark stains. From countless beatings over the years, blood. To the post, her wrists he tied. Into her skin, the rope bit. High he tied them so her feet barely touched the ground. From her damaged shoulder, all her weight hung. Unbearable was the pain. Sorry, I am, Porter whispered. Nothing, Alma said. To speak, no strength she had left. Around the yard, James Thornhill positioned his men. 6 of them, all with rifles, all toward the darkness beyond the torchlight pointed. When that wolf comes, it you shoot, Thornhill said. Until it stops moving, it you shoot. Understand, you? The men nodded. Scared, they looked. What the wolf could do, they had seen. Near the main house porch, Thornhill stood. A rifle himself, he held. The darkness, his eyes scanned. Past, hours. From the post, Alma hung. In and out, her consciousness faded. Background noise, the pain became distant, unreal, everything became about her mother, she thought, about her children who had died young, about Thomas. About the plantation, she thought, about the cotton fields, about the generations of people who had suffered here, worked here, died here. In blood, in pain, in injustice, this land was soaked. Maybe why Thomas had come back, that was not just for her, for all of them, for everyone who on this land had been broken. Higher rose the moon, full, bright. Across the plantation, silver light it cast. Then she heard it, a howl, long, low, from the woods coming. Tensed, the men. Up, rifles came. The darkness, eyes searched. Ready, stay, Thornhill said. Another howl, closer. Her head, Alma lifted. Toward the sound, she looked. Thomas, she breathed. In the shadows, movement, something massive circling, just beyond the light staying. I see, one of the men said, with fear his voice cracked. Into the light until it comes, your fire hold, Thornhill ordered. Closer, the wolf moved. Its shape now, Alma could see, enormous, powerful. Like liquid shadow, it moved. At the edge of the torchlight, it stopped. On Alma, its golden eyes fixed. Then to James Thornhill, they shifted. Pure hate was the look in those eyes. Now! Thornhill screamed. Fired, 6 rifles. Deafening was the sound. The air, smoke-filled. Faster than anything that size should move, the wolf moved. Left, it dodged. Missed, 3 bullets. Its flank, 2 hit. Its head, 1 grazed, but stop it did not. It charged. Reload, the men tried. Too slow, they were. Like a freight train, the wolf hit the first man. Backward, he flew. Across the ground, his rifle clattered. On him instantly, the wolf was. Flashed, teeth. Sprayed, blood. Wildly, the other men fired, panicked. Everywhere, their shots went. Between them, the wolf moved. A blur of black fur and rage. Down went another man, then another. The night, screams filled. For the main house, James Thornhill ran. The porch, he reached. Off, the wolf cut him. Each other, they faced. Man and beast. Back, the wolf's lips pulled. Red, its teeth were stained. His rifle, Thornhill raised. So badly his hand shook that barely he could aim. Lunged, the wolf. Fired, Thornhill. In the chest, the bullet hit the wolf. Stumbled, the wolf, fell, lay still. Laughed, Thornhill. A high, hysterical laugh. I got. I got. Toward the wolf, he walked, at its head his rifle pointed. Finish it, he would. Make sure dead it was. The wolf's eyes opened. Up, it sprang. To react, Thornhill had no time. Around his throat, the wolf's jaws closed. Like a rag doll, it shook him. Snapped, bones. Poured, blood. A wet gurgling sound, Thornhill made. Fell, his rifle. Limp, his body went. Him, the wolf dropped. The ground, he hit and did not move. All of it, Alma watched. No horror, no fear, just relief she felt. Finally come, justice had. Toward her, the wolf turned. It limped. Serious were the bullet wounds. Bleeding, weakening, it was. To the whipping post, it walked. In front of her, it stood. Hers, those golden eyes met. Back, you came, she whispered. For me, you came back. A sound, the wolf made, something between a whimper and a growl. Sorry, I am, she said. Down her face, tears ran. Save you, I could not. Sorry I am they killed you. About it they lied, and anything I could not do. Against her legs, the wolf pressed its head. Its warmth, its breath, she felt. Now, rest you can, she said. Over, it is. Dead, he is. Rest, you can. Up at her one last time, the wolf looked. Then away it walked, slowly, painfully, back toward the woods. It go, Alma watched. Goodbye, my son. Goodbye. Into the darkness, the wolf disappeared. Again, she never saw it. Silent now was the plantation. Everywhere, bodies lay. Into the dirt, blood-soaked. One by one, the torches flickered and died. From the post, Alma hung. Blurred, her vision. Down, her body was shutting. Left, she had nothing. But she smiled because dead was James Thornhill. Because fall would the plantation, because after 63 years, finally something had changed. Approached, footsteps. Running came Ruth. Other enslaved people followed. From the slave quarters, everything they had watched. Down, cut her, Ruth said. Quickly. Up, hands reached. Cut were the ropes. Fell, Alma. Her, Ruth caught. Gently to the ground, lowered her. Okay, you are going to be, Ruth said. But a lie, both knew it was. Dying, Alma was. Too far, her body had been pushed. Without food or water 3 days, beaten, hung from a post. Left, minutes she had, maybe less. The wolf, Alma whispered. Did you see? Yes, all saw it. Thomas, that was. My son, that was. Nodded, Ruth. Argue, she did not. No, I. All know, we. Shallow became Alma's breathing. Now, what happens? Free, we are. Dead is Master Thornhill. Dead are his men. Leave, we can. Where will you go? North? Anywhere. Not matter, it does. Free, we will be. Smiled, Alma. Good. Good, that is. Closed, her eyes. Stopped, her breathing. Relaxed, her body. Free, finally she was, too. For a long time, Alma's body Ruth held. Around gathered the other enslaved people. 17 souls who in chains had lived, who their families torn apart had watched, who through cruelty and terror had survived. In silence now, they stood. The wind and the crackling of dying torches, the only sounds were. What do we? Someone asked. Up, Ruth looked. With tears wet was her face, but hard, determined were her eyes. Our dead, we bury. Then to the ground, this place we burn. Through the night, they worked. For Alma behind the slave quarters, a grave they dug, deep, respectful. In the best blanket they could find, they wrapped her body. As the sun began to rise, they laid her to rest. Over the grave, Ruth said words. A preacher, she was not, but the Bible she knew. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. In green pastures, he makes me lie down. Beside still waters, he leads me. My soul, he restores. The words, the others repeated. Some cried. Some stood silent. All of them what Alma had endured, what she had lost, what she had survived, knew. When they finished, to face the plantation they turned. The main house with its white columns, the barn, the cotton fields, still standing in the yard the whipping post. Burn, Ruth said. Across the property, they scattered. Torches, they grabbed. In every building, fires they lit. Alone, the slave quarters they left. For one more night, those they would need. But everything else burned. Fast went up the main house. Old and dry was the wood. The walls, flames climbed. Exploded, windows. Inward with a roar, the roof collapsed. Next burned the barn. Then the storage sheds, the cotton gin, the overseer houses. Everything, fire consumed. Into the morning sky like a black pillar, smoke rose. And watched, the enslaved people stood. Some smiled, some laughed, some just in disbelief stared. In the yard, James Thornhill's body still lay. It, no one touched. With his plantation, let him burn. To ash with everything he on suffering had built, let him turn. By noon died down had the fires. Only charred ruins remained. Gone was the Thornhill plantation. Erased. But memories and ghosts, nothing left. Go, we should, someone said, before more white men come. Nodded, Ruth. What you can carry, gather. Food, water, blankets. Within the hour, we leave. Quickly, they moved. For this moment their whole lives, they had waited. They would not waste. But before they left, one more thing Ruth did. To Alma's grave, she went. Beside it, she knelt. On the fresh dirt, her hand she placed. Thank you, she whispered. For holding on, for surviving, for this chance to us giving. Up, the wind picked. Through the dead cotton fields, it moved. Of smoke and ash, it carried the smell. And for just a moment, something she thought she heard. A howl, distant, fading, like a final goodbye. Stood, she. Her eyes, she wiped. To the others, back she walked. Together, they left the plantation, all 17 of them. Down the dirt road that away from the property led, they walked, the road they never allowed to take had been. The road to freedom. North headed some, east went others. Into smaller groups, they split. That way safer it was, harder to track, harder to catch. Of 7, Ruth led a group. For 3 days, they walked. In the woods, they slept. Towns, they avoided. From streams, they drank. What little food they had brought, they ate. On the 4th day, a settlement they reached. Of formerly enslaved people who their own town had built, a community. Small, poor, but free. Welcome they were, given shelter, given food, given hope. As a cook, Ruth found work. In fields they now owned themselves, others found work. For the first time, children went to school. To read, to write, to dream, people learned. Passed, years. The story of the Thornhill plantation spread. About the wolf, about the old woman who to the whipping post had been tied, about the fire that everything consumed, people heard. Justice, some said it was, murder others said. Both, some said it was. In that settlement, Ruth grew old. She married. Children, she had. Free, she lived to see them grow up, something her mother never saw, something Alma never saw. But forgot, she never. To her children, she told the story, and to their children, they told it. The story of Alma, the story of Thomas, the story of the wolf. And sometimes on quiet nights when full was the moon, in the distance people in that settlement would hear howling, deep, mournful, protective. Watching still, Thomas was guarding still, making sure never forgot what happened, making sure never forgot the price of freedom, they said. After the fire, 20 years, a journalist came to the settlement. About slavery, about Reconstruction, about the violence that continued even after emancipation, a book he was writing. Ruth, he interviewed. 60 years old now she was, grey hair, deep lines in her face, but sharp was her mind. Clear was her memory. About the Thornhill plantation, tell me, he said. In her small house, Ruth Saturday. In the hearth, a fire burned. Into the flames as she spoke, she looked. Hell, it was, she said simply. To death, people were worked, where from their mothers children were sold away, where for kindness asking meant a beating, a place. And the fire, the deaths. A monster was James Thornhill. Long after the law said free we should be, in chains he kept us. He beat us, starved us, killed us. What he deserved, what happened to him was A wolf killed him, some people say. That several men that night, it killed. Smiled, Ruth. A lot of things, some people say, but there you were. It, you saw. Really happened, what? For a long time, quiet was Ruth. Then she spoke. Alma was an old woman named. Thomas was a son named. Smart was Thomas, too smart. That, the Thornhills did not like, so him they killed. Like he ran away, made it look. But Alma knew. Always know, mothers. And back came Thomas, not as a man, as something else, something wild, something free. To protect his mother, to punish the people who killed him, back he came. Thomas was the wolf, you are saying. That, what you believe. In many forms, justice comes, I am saying. From courts and laws, sometimes it comes. From the earth itself, from the spirits of those who were wronged, sometimes it comes. Everything down, the journalist wrote, but this part in his book he did not include. Crazy, people would think he was, that Ruth was crazy, he thought. But the notes he kept. And later after he died, his grandson found them. A writer, too, the grandson was. To investigate, he decided. To Montgomery, he went. Through old records, he searched. Of the Thornhill plantation, mentions he found. About the fire, about the mysterious deaths, newspaper articles he found. Something else, too, he found. From hunters, from travelers, from people who near where the plantation had been lived, reports. Of a wolf, a massive black wolf with golden eyes, reports. Over decades, seen. From violence, protecting formerly enslaved people, seen. Who white hoods wore, attacking men, seen. Near lynching trees where all night it would howl until someone to cut down the bodies came, seen. For over 50 years after Thomas died, the wolf had been seen, long past the natural lifespan of any wolf. His own book, the grandson wrote. The spirit wolf of Alabama, he called it. Of Alma and Thomas, of the plantation, of the fire, of the justice that came not from men but from something beyond understanding, it told the story. Fiction, some people called it. Folklore, others called it. But better, formerly enslaved people and their descendants knew. Truth, they knew it was because their own stories they had. Through generations passed down, stories. Of protection, of vengeance, of spirits that to rest refused until the wrongs were made right. Still exist the ruins of the Thornhill plantation, mostly buried now, with trees and brush overgrown. But if look you know where to, them you can find. Of the main house, the foundation, of the slave quarters bits, the whipping post, fallen and rotting, but still there. And still marked, Alma's grave. Sometimes, people visit it. Flowers, they leave. Stones, they leave. Thanking her for her sacrifice, for her strength, for holding on when holding on seemed impossible, notes they leave. Cursed is the land, local historians say. Properly, that nothing grows there. That it, animals avoid. That on it try to build, people always fail. Accidents happen. Structures collapse. Workers quit. By ash and blood, the soil poisoned, some say it is. Something else, others say it is, something that again ever be used for profit, the land let refuses. And sometimes, even now, howling people hear, rangers working in the area, hikers passing through, hunters who too close wander. It, they hear and something they feel, a presence, a warning, a promise. Still there, the wolf is. Still there, Thomas is, watching, waiting, making sure that on that plantation what happened never is forgotten. Making sure that once claimed, justice never is taken back. Simple, the moral of the story is not. It cannot. Simple, history is not. Simple, suffering is not. Simple, justice is not. But if a lesson there is, this it is, spirits that cannot be killed, oppression creates. Forces that cannot be controlled, cruelty creates. In forms the violent never expect, justice that comes, violence creates. Untouchable, James Thornhill believed he was. His wealth and his skin color and his position him the right gave to treat people as property, to beat them, to starve them, to kill them, he believed. Wrong, he was. And him, his wrongness killed. Meaningless her suffering was, that for nothing her son died, that nothing ever would change, Alma believed. Wrong, too, she was. Meaning her suffering had because she survived it, because she to it bore witness. Because for others to build freedom upon, her survival became the foundation. And Thomas, that death was the end, that once killed he was, over his story was, Thomas believed. Of all, the most wrong he was because the end, death was not. A transformation, a change, a becoming, it was. Something that could not be chained, could not be bought, could not be controlled, he became. From laws or courts or governments, the justice his people could not get, he became. What was needed, he became, and until his purpose was fulfilled, he remained. In 1912, Ruth died. 83 years old, she was. By children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, free people, educated people, who land and businesses and futures owned, people, surrounded, she died. At her funeral, her oldest grandson spoke. Of the Thornhill plantation, the story he told. Of Alma and Thomas and the wolf, the story he told. So the youngest generation would know, would remember, would understand the cost of the freedom they enjoyed, he told it. When he finished, everyone was silent. Then from somewhere in the distance, into the air a howl rose. Long, mournful, final. At each other, people looked. Some smiled. Some nodded. What it meant, they knew. Heard, Thomas had. Knew, Thomas did. And approved, Thomas did. Faded, the howl. Continued, the funeral. Hymns, people sang. They prayed. A life well lived, they celebrated. And somewhere in the woods of Alabama, beneath an old oak tree, a massive black wolf with golden eyes lay down. Scarred, tired, ancient beyond measure, its body was. What it came to do, it had done. Its mother, it had protected. Her killers, it had punished. Over the people who escaped, it had watched. A legend that would outlive them all, it had become. Now rest, it could. Finally, truly, completely, the wolf, its eyes closed, its breathing slowed, its body relaxed, and as over the Alabama landscape the sun set, finally let go the wolf spirit. Like smoke, like mist, up it rose. On the wind, it drifted. To wherever spirits go when their work is done, it went. Free was Thomas. Free was Alma. Free were all the souls who on that plantation had suffered. The land remembered, the stories remembered, the descendants remembered, and a weapon, a shield, a warning to anyone who thought that forever cruelty could last, that unpunished injustice could go, that silent the oppressed would remain, that memory became. Because not, they would. Could not, they were. By the earth, by the trees, by the spirits of those who came before, witness they were. And watching always, those spirits were, again if needed ready to rise, in the darkness ready to howl, their teeth ready to show, the world ready to remind that paid some debts must be, righted some wrongs must be, denied some justice cannot be. No matter how long it takes, no matter what form it takes, no matter who tries to stop it, in the end justice comes. Always. And when it does, teeth it has.